In this video, I'm going to show how to create a starry sky on the LED array on the microbit. I'll start by creating XY pairs as individual variables, and then I'll recreate the pairs using the array features available in MakeCode Blocks. The LEDs are a nice place to learn about arrays because what we really have on the LED display is a 5x5 array. We have 5 columns and 5 rows, and they are numbered from 0 to 4. This is also a nice project to go along with teaching graphing in math. We're going to follow the standard procedure of labeling the rows X and the columns Y. This will link our variables more clearly to the blocks in the LED category, which all reference X and Y. The algorithm we are using for this project is, to start, generate a random XY pair, and then we'll call that one pair 0. Display the LED at that location, generate another random XY pair, and we'll call that set pair 1, display the LED at that location. And then, forever, remove pair 0, regenerate pair 0, and redisplay pair 0. Remove pair 1, regenerate pair 1, and display pair 1. And we'll do that within the forever loop, so that will just process over and over. Okay, I'm going to start by creating 4 variables. So I'm going to go into variables, and I'm going to call my variables xval 0, yval 0, xval 1, and yval 1. Okay, now what I want to do is assign a random number between 0 and 4 to each one of these. So I'm going to click on the set block and drag that into the onStart block. I'm going to start this at xval 0 and just go through them in order. And then I'm going to go into math, scroll down till I see the pick random 0 to 10, drag that over the 0 and change the 10 to a 4. Now I want to make 3 copies of this. And we'll drag these into the onStart block and then just set them to the proper values. That one's yval 0, this one will be xval 1, and this will be yval 1. Okay, so we've generated our random numbers. The next thing we want to do is plot them. So I'm going to go into LED, select plot, drag that in between the first set of variables. And now we want to set this to xval 0 and yval 0. So I'm going to go back into variables, select the xval 0 block, drag that over that 0, duplicate it, and drag that over the 0 next to the y, reset it to yval 0. Now we'll just copy this plot block and place it under the second set of values. And then I'll change this to xval 1 and yval 1. Now that's it for the onStart block. Now we'll go ahead and write the code for the forever block. So the first thing I want to do is remove the first point that we plotted. So I'm going to go into LED and select unplot, drag that into the forever block, and then set that to xval 0 and yval 0. And then I just want to do these 3 lines over, so I'm just going to cut and paste those. And then the plot. Now let's do this same thing here for the xval 1, yval 1 point. I'm going to start by copying the unplot, and I'll drag that under the plot and change that to xval 1, yval 1. Now I'm just going to copy and paste these. Okay. That's moving pretty fast. I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller so we have more room to show our code. And then I'm going to go into basic and select pause so I can slow this down a little bit. It's moving a little fast for me. And then I'll put one more pause in. And we'll place that in between the plot and unplot. Let's see how that works. And that looks good. So we've created it using XY pairs. Now let's change that to values stored in an array. So we're going to call our arrays 0.0 and 0.1. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into variables and create variables with those names. And one more. Now What I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut and paste out of what we have here and just do it on this same page so you can see how it will change. The next thing I want to do is go into arrays and pull out the set block, which will allow us to set up an array. I'm going to plop that in the onStart block above these two variables, and I'm going to change this to 0.0. Now you can see this has two values set up in it. We could add more values if we wanted to have a longer array, but we don't. We just want the two values in this array. So I do want to set them to this pick random like we have these two values set. So I'm just going to drag this pick random up and out, and I'll do the same thing here for this value. And then we'll delete these two blocks. Now we want to plot the values in the point. So I'm going to go back into arrays and select get value at. We need this set to 0.0. And I'm going to drag these values out of here, x val 0 and y val 0, and I'll put this in here. It's set to 0.0, and we want the value at the 0 location. We'll duplicate that, drag it over this 0, and change this index to 1. Now we've replaced the start information for one of the XY pairs. The second one is going to look the same as this, except it's going to reference 0.1. So what I'm going to do is just drag all this out into the trash, duplicate this line, set this to 0.1, and then we'll do this one, we'll duplicate it, and we'll set this to 0.1. We've got those defined. Now what I want to do is replace all the XY pairs in the forever loop with the point arrays. First thing I want to do is unplot 0.0. So we need to reference it the same way we're doing it here. So I'm just going to take the X val, drag it into the trash, the Y val, drag it into the trash, select this one, duplicate it, drag it over the 0. I'll duplicate this one and drag it over the other 0 next to the Y. There we go. Now we've unplotted it. Now we need to replot it. So we know what we need to do is replace these two values with this line. Duplicate this one and drag it under the unplot. And now we need to plot it using the values in 0.0. So I'm going to delete this, copy this plot, and drag it under the set 0.0. Okay, now we need to do the same thing for 0.1. So basically what I want to do is recreate what I have here. So I'm going to drag this whole thing to the trash and then duplicate each of these lines and drag them under the pause. And this is going to say 0.1. This will say 0.1. And then I want to duplicate the set array block. And we'll point that to 0.1. And then finally, we want to duplicate the plot block and make that reference 0.1. I could have also pulled that out from here, but I just didn't. So this works just as well. And so we've recreated the starry sky with arrays instead of individual variables. So that's it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.